Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to Where the Road Rises with me, your host, Eileen Curlin Walsh. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and our guest today, Norma Peterson, will discuss with us this heartbreaking situation, all too real for millions of women. And if you associate the name Peterson with domestic violence, it is not a coincidence. Norma is the sister-in-law of Drew Peterson, whom our newspapers and TV screens were flooded with in the early 2000s. Stacey Peterson, the fourth wife of Drew Peterson, a former police sergeant with Bolingbroke, vanished in October 2007. Drew Peterson was the prime suspect in her death. Although Stacey's body was never found, her case led to the reopening of the death of Kathleen Savio, Drew Peterson's third wife. And Peterson was ultimately convicted of Kathleen's murder. Stacey Peterson and Kathleen Savio, their cases brought national attention to the history of Peterson's domestic abuse. And following this horrific occurrence in her family, Norma Peterson created a non-for-profit organization in an attempt to prevent domestic violence tragedies, and her organization is called Document the Abuse. So today Norma will tell us about her organization and let us know how to recognize and prevent domestic abuse, as well as how to support those in our community caught up in it. Welcome, Norma.
Thank you so much, Eileen, for having me here today.
Okay, let's start with your sister-in-law, Stacey. Her story is heartbreaking. So tell us a little bit about the impact of that on your family and how that led you to start your organization, Document the Abuse.
So literally yesterday was Stacey's 18-year missing anniversary. So it has been 18 years that we have been without her. Mm-hmm. We hope to bring her home someday. That's the hope that we have. But in the meantime, there is something that was created because of what happened with her, with Kathleen, and with another young woman named Susan Murphy Milano. And because of their stories, we now have a way to hopefully make things a little different than it was for Stacey and Kathleen.
Mm-hmm. And the organization, tell me how it was, what were the ideas, how it was created, and how you've been able to bring that to fruition.
So I wish I could say I was the creator, but what I get to be is the front end of it.
Oh,
so what it is there was a woman named Susan Murphy Milano, and she was a domestic violence awareness advocate that was in the Chicagoland area. And like you said, this story made national headlines. When she saw what was going on out there and saw the trial, she had created and just written a book about the evidentiary abuse affidavit. And that affidavit is a way for people to document the abuse. That's where our name comes from, Document the Abuse. We house this evidentiary abuse affidavit, or EAA for short, and it basically does just that. It holds all the documentation for someone in the event that anything should happen to them, but more so that hopefully what we do is we prevent things like this from happening. And so this is why it was created. And so in seeing what went on, Susan, the creator, reached out to me during the trial. We became friends, and unfortunately, Susan passed from cancer 5 years to the day that my sister-in-law went missing. Mm-hmm. So it was her anniversary of her death. Also yeah. Yesterday. So it was a very impactful day, and these women are the reason that this resource now exists.
So tell me about the moment that you realized you had to become involved, that you had to take action, because I'm sure this was so devastating and so public for your own family. where did you get the kernel that out of this destruction and devastation that you could maybe do some good?
Because we had the kind of attention that we did, I mean, literally every day, if anyone, remembers from that period of time, from one end of the country to the other, there was all this exposure of him. So we were kind of in the background because we were helping to take care of the kids, helping to provide stability while he was doing what he was doing. And so knowing how dangerous he could be, I could not come out and do the work until I knew he could not get out of jail. So when he attempted to go after the Will County State's attorney and was convicted and actually got more time for that than he did the murder, that then ensured he would never get out. My last name is Peterson. There's already 2 Mrs. Petersons gone.
Chilling.
I could not afford to be out there to antagonize him in any way until I knew he could not get out.
Good gracious.
So in doing that, I thought, well, we have all this name recognition and we've got this story. Maybe what we can do is use it to make it different for someone else.
I love that. I absolutely love that, Norma. So how do you help victims beyond the affidavit, and how do you measure success with that?
So a lot of it is in getting victims to realize, A, there is a free resource for you to use. We didn't want there to be any costs to it because we didn't want people to have to figure out, am I going to pay for a gallon of gas, a gallon of milk, or am I going to fill something out that may save my life and prevent a terrible outcome? We didn't want anybody to have to make those decisions. So that is why Document the Abuse is in existence, so that we as a nonprofit can offer that resource free to any victims. It is a web-based app because we did not want it to be found on the phones, so that was an extra security protocol. And above all other things, nobody ever opens these EAAs, as they are called for short, because we want victims to know that they are safe and they are secure. They are never opened, they are never looked at unless somebody specifies. So that is how we do things.
Oh, I understand now, Norma. So while there are organizations who will provide housing or like emergency support, your role in supporting the victims is that you help them keep the information that they need for the affidavit, so that if it ever comes to a prosecution or he said, she said, they have the evidence maybe necessary for convictions or to keep them safe from that person.
Right. So what you're doing is it's kind of a keeper of your information. But hopefully if you are here to testify on your own behalf, what you're doing is just using it for a reference. So now, what is the first thing you always say to someone when they come into your office? Do you have your documentation that proves what this is? Does it validate, corroborate? Is it a way to say, this is what was happening to me? And so many times victims, in going through the things that they have, don't always have the mental wherewithal to go, okay, this is here, this is here, this is here. Now what we do is we just make it very easy for them to encapsulate all that information so they can present themselves. And maybe they took a look at what they're writing and seek other resources. So I work with many different organizations, whether it's police departments, law enforcement, legal. I'm part of the DuPage Family Violence Coordinating Council. I am on the Will County Domestic Violence Fatality Review Board. So I work with anyone who has contact with victims, and I provide this resource as a way for them then to engage the people that are already coming to them. And so this way we capture as many people as possible with this.
I know I see very clearly your role, Norma. And as I think of the victim of maybe continual and maybe it's getting more and more violent within the home, each time they're just thinking about staying safe, keeping their children safe. So to go and document it, write it down, would be a step that they wouldn't necessarily be thinking about doing. But when the time comes, rather than to say this has been happening for months, they're going to be able to document every incident, the time, the circumstances. I can see how valuable that would be, because unfortunately you're right, when it comes to being in court, it's not just what you can remember on a stand, it's what you're able to prove. And the more documentation really we have for anything,
Exactly.
the better that is. Why is it so important to raise awareness of domestic violence?
Here's the difficult part. We have awareness. It's action we need. So we have Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I think we are becoming more and more aware every day as we see it in the news. So I think, yes, awareness is vital to addressing any given, sector. But
it needs change.
Right,
correct?
that needs change. But when you can really focus on that and provide then a resource that helps that along, now you've got a solution to the problem.
Right. And are there common misconceptions in the community about domestic violence that you wish we understood a little bit better, Norma?
Yes. So talking directly to anyone out there, if you are being made to feel less than, no one should ever make you feel less than. If they are, because unfortunately what people don't realize, and this is the big one for me, is abuse isn't just physical. It's not just a mark that can be left. There are marks that can be left on your heart, on your mind, on your emotions. There's financial, there's physical, there's emotional, there's mental, there's coercive control. There are unfortunately a lot of different things that fall under that category.
Absolutely.
That if you can't see them doesn't mean that they're not abuse. So please look and see out there for the resources. There is an excellent resource called loveisrespect.org. And in it shows you the green, yellow, and red flags that you should be watching for. And it's geared a lot towards teenagers because if we can get to them younger, maybe they don't go through that when they're older. Maybe if we can get to them and teach them in high school what is good behavior and what's not, what are red flags. Maybe what we do is when they enter these other environments that they're new in, such as college, they're better equipped.
I will tell you, Norma, that is something as a mother of 4 boys I have thought about all during their raising. The responsibility that we have to make sure that they understand how to behave in the world, that they understand what limits are, that they understand how to behave when they're in the company of women. And I've often thought, mothers of girls whose girls are going off to college, there's so much about how to keep themselves safe. And I think mothers of boys should also be just as circumspect about making sure those boys know how not to abuse girls. So I think there's tremendous responsibility when it comes to the teenage level, because if we really could educate or treat at that point, maybe we wouldn't have near so much violence and assault in the adult years.
That's where the work is I think, educating our youngers so that they don't wind up being older and dealing with this.
Yeah.
They have a better scope of things, so learn from our lessons.
And is there an educational portion to what you do?
Yes, anyone can get a hold of me. I do some
I love
classes out in LaSalle, Peru. Shout out to them. And I go to the high school, the advanced forensics class, because this is forensics. You're holding information that could be a part of a case at some period of time. If you are not here to speak on your own behalf, we're hoping that you will be by filling this out and saying, my life is worth this much time and effort. And going back to the web-based app, what we did was we made it web-based so that it wasn't findable on the phone. It doesn't need to be downloaded from the App Store, so there's no
sort of
traces of anything on there. So it's internet driven. So anywhere that you can get to the internet with a username and a password, you can get on there. So So you can go to your best friend's house, you can go to church, you can go to the library, you can go to school, you can go anywhere that has internet, and once you've established a username and a password, that's all you need. And you can go in there and fill it out as many times as you need to, because we know that these incidents are not singular. It is a buildup. So for each time you can go on there, maybe what we do is we prevent that next time from happening, because you seek resources.
And that's exactly what we need to address, because our viewers may be thinking, if there's ongoing abuse, why, rather than documenting it, aren't we just getting the heck out of there? But that's really not getting to the psyche, the nature of abuse and what it does to victims before they can get that help.
If we had a better understanding of how victimology works, I mean, truly, when someone is in a situation like this, the abuser, whether it be a man or a woman, men are abused, and those statistics, unfortunately, are going up too. So no matter in what position you are, gender you are, because it happens everywhere, it's the knowing that this is what's happening to you, because so many people don't get it, and then when you do, I'm embarrassed, I don't want to talk about it, I feel dumb because I let myself get into this, and then they're afraid of the judgment. So if we do nothing else for victims, if someone comes to you, just believe them. That's what we can do first and foremost for anyone that ever comes to you, is just say, I believe you. Because that is what they are looking for. They are looking for the belief, because no one wants to grow up and be a domestic violence victim. That is not how we do things. We want to grow up and we want to be safe and we want to keep our family safe. But sometimes we find ourselves in situations that we feel like we can't get out of, and if people are judging us by saying, how come you don't just leave? Because we don't understand that victimology. The best way that you can help is just to say, I believe you. I believe you is the best way to answer someone who is coming to you.
And it really resonates with me, Norma, that you say not only by documenting the abuse are we creating an evidentiary document, but we're maybe helping ourselves see what we just may have gone from incident to incident, but if you can see this clearly documented, at some point it may be what would help the scales fall from your eyes and take that step
Exactly.
to get help. I love that. That evidentiary document could be beneficial in so many ways.
Very much so.
Could you tell our viewers a story or two maybe of someone you've been able to help since you've been working with the organization?
I had trained someone, and a few months later, they wound up attending another training because I had done it with another Family Violence Coordinating Council. I had someone come up to me and tell me that they had filled out an EAA and they had left. And they were able to come up and hug me to tell me that they were now safe and to thank me for this. Now, while it's not my doing, it's their own doing, the fact that I could get someone's outcome a little brighter is what makes it so much better. Because I couldn't do it for them, but I can do it for you.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. And that was actually what my next question was going to be for you. I mean, this is so challenging. I mean, it's so challenging for you. It's clearly emotional right now, thinking about Stacey and Kathleen, and it's emotional thinking about the people who have left because of what you've done. So how do you overcome obstacles? Is it just seeing the road ahead, the help that you can give?
Oh, there's been times where you couldn't see the sun over the hill. Yeah. There's been a lot. We literally just received our 501c3 last month.
Congratulations.
And that was a long process. But
it is.
We had a lot of things go on, so sometimes there are going to be obstacles, and it's going to seem like that hill is insurmountable. But if you feel passionate about your mission and you know what you're doing is right, you'll just keep going. It has been a long struggle, but knowing that we are now in a place that we can help so many others and now get help to help others. So we are very thankful.
So much for what you've been doing. So if someone is watching or knows someone in danger, there's an escalation, what would your advice be for that person?
So if you are witnessing something like this, if you're watching this and you have a neighbor, a friend, a sister, a brother, someone who's going through it, and you can ask them to, or make them aware of this. Do you know that there's this thing that can help you write your story? A lot of times we can't get victims to engage in it because they're just so scared, or they're just not in a place where they feel like they can. If I'm witnessing this, maybe what I start to do is write this down, and now I corroborate someone else's testimony. So now there was an incident. Speaking of stories, there was an incident like this. There were two co-workers, and she was watching him be abused. And so she would know that she saw him come in with a black eye. She would notice that he would get very nervous when his wife would call. And I mean, there was just these things that she was witnessing. So she started writing them down. Something happened to him, and they were able to use her corroborating testimony to back up his. So now you may become that person that says, I witnessed this. So if they're sending you pictures, they're sending you pictures of a hole in the wall, they're doing anything that is engaging that, now I can write that down on behalf of someone.
Excellent.
So now
Yes.
it gives friends, family, anybody who deals with these victims even a way to try to help.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So if the viewers want to get involved, well, we've talked a little bit about if somebody needs help themselves, or if they need someone who needs help. What if somebody wants to offer help for your organization? They love what you do. They want to offer time, talent, treasure. What's the best way to get a hold of your organization?
We do have a web page, documenttheabuse.com.org. We are going to be gathering interns so that we can go to different events and make people more aware. You know, right now we're just limited by the amount of people that we have out there. We're doing trainings, so watch for the trainings if you want to get involved, learn more about it. If you want cards, we have QR cards that take you directly to the website to make it easy for victims. Let's say I need to give somebody something very quick, and this is what we ask police officers to do. It's just a simple card, just like a business card. Here, that's all you gotta do is hand it to them.
And viewers, just to clarify, that QR code that's on the screen is just a direct portal to the organization for any help that you know someone might need, or any help that you want to give. So I think that wraps us up beautifully. Norma, thank you so much for taking your pain and using it in a positive way and helping the community. And thank you, viewers, for watching. If you can help in any way, please use the QR code, reach out to Norma to help with this difficult situation in our community. Thank you so much for watching today, and we will see you next time on Where the Road Rises. Thanks and bye.